Go ahead now.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, sir. My name is Okelgene Meya. I'm a student of Pastoral Care and Leadership Institute bachelor class. And this is my first book report, book number 1. And the book title is Hope for Africa and What the Christian Can Do by George Kinoti. It's a book of about 24 pages. Hope for Africa and What the Christians Can Do is a book written by George Kinoti, who is a professor of zoology at the University of Nairobi, Kenya. And the book was published in 1994. He is also a well-known speaker and writer on social and economic development. I am not a lover of Christian literatures, but this book by George Kinoti jolted something good up in me. This is not really a book about government, but government experiences do come into it. The book is a short journal about Africa and, most importantly, African Christian. And as African Christians and African, according to the writer, we shouldn't accept poverty, hunger, disease, and oppression as a normal part of life. And as Christians in Africa, we shouldn't hide under religion to enable us evade the pain, the ugliness, difficulty, and the reality of the world we find ourselves in. According to George Kinoti in pages 5 and 6, when he stated that African Christians must become active participants in the search for lasting solution to severe economic, political, and social problems. Now the theme is, it is disheartening. The theme of this book is disheartening to think that Africa, blessed with so many natural resources, is sinking deeper and deeper into poverty. And according to Kinoti in pages 15 and 16, number 23, precisely, it said poverty is equals to hunger. And in number 24, pages 16, the writer also stated that poverty imprisons people in ignorance and superstition. To think that this book was published in 1994 until this very moment, 2022, it is still the same sad story everywhere in Africa. With that in mind, Africa must rise and understand where the problem and solutions are. And as Christians, we should know that God has given us the natural resources, energy, intelligence, and the moral capacity required to build the society where everyone can live in peace and dignity of life. And according to George Kinoti, in pages 40 and 41, the church cannot be neutral in politics. Who says as a Christian, we can't be in politics? Africa needs leaders with integrity, honesty, and fairness. We should not fold our arms and watch African nations sink deeper into ruins. The writer said in pages 40 to 41, he said, failure to resist evil means accepting evil with all its consequences. Like the example the writer gave of what happened in South Africa in 1995, when the Afrikaner government took over mission schools that had provided at least 90% of African education. The church was unhappy with the Bantu Educational Act, but they didn't do much aside making feeble protests. The intention of the act is to educate Africans for servitude. The church allowed it. The church allowed it to take place by silence and inaction. The goal of this book is to help Africans, and especially the followers of Christ, to know they have a role to play in the nation's politics. We do not have to follow the status quo that has not been working over the years. We must act to replace poverty and hunger with prosperity, injustice with injustice, disease with health. We must put our brains to work, bring new ideas to impact lives, both culturally, religiously, economically, political, and otherwise. And in bringing this change, church leaders, according to the writer, he said church leaders has a crucial role to play to help in development, Christian attitude and character. They must be exemplary in teaching to be able to transmit biblical values by both words and deed. Leaders who are well trained in theology and ready to bring the truth of the gospel to every aspect of life. Because according to the writer in pages 55 to 56, Africa requires the whole of the gospel from Genesis to Revelation, not based on our own selfish desires. We have to put them into action, into practical use. The theme and message, it is God's will that his creations live in prosperity and good health. We are not to live in poverty and lack, because the writer clearly stated that the wretchedness of Africa dishonors their creator. I do not think there's anyone who would read this book and not be inspired by it to act as a Christian, either Muslim or an ordinary man. Thank you.